This channel is your pit stop for the most intriguing stories from the world of motorcycles. From insider manufacturer secrets to forgotten bike models that once ruled the roads, we dig deep into the machine culture that fuels us. Whether you're a longtime gearhead or just entering the two-wheeled lifestyle, there's always something here to rev up your curiosity. Today, we're talking about 14 Japanese motorcycles that just aren't moving off showroom floors. Yes, we're talking about brands like Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki, and Kawasaki, the giants of reliability and engineering. So why are some of their bikes gathering dust in dealerships? We're diving into the real reasons, market trends, missteps, price wars, and changing rider preferences. And before you go thinking it's all gloom and doom, some of these bikes are actually hidden gems. Smart riders are snatching them up at jaw-dropping prices because dealers are so desperate to clear them out. Stick around. Some of these bikes might just surprise you. The motorcycle industry has seen massive shifts in recent years. Global demand fluctuates based on fuel prices, urbanization, environmental policies, and even the influence of pop culture. In Japan, motorcycle sales have been declining for years, but that's also true in Europe and North America. Younger buyers are leaning towards smaller, fuel-efficient scooters or e-bikes, while older riders either stick to larger touring bikes or move to trikes for comfort. Amid these changes, Japanese manufacturers have continued to pump out new models. But here's the catch. Not all bikes resonate with modern buyers. Dealers across the globe are stuck with inventory they can't move, despite offering serious discounts and incentives. Some bikes are genuinely misunderstood. Others suffer from bad timing, poor marketing, or just being slightly off from what the market wants. Sometimes it's the styling. Sometimes it's the pricing. And sometimes it's just that riders are sponging with options. Dealers don't want to keep AGI inventory. The longer a bike sits, the more it costs in storage, insurance, and depreciation. So they start cutting prices. And in some cases, they're practically giving them away. Number 14. Suzuki GSX250R. The Suzuki GSX250R was launched to compete in the highly competitive entry-level sport bike market, aiming to challenge the likes of the Kawasaki Ninja 250 and the Honda CBR250R. On paper, it appeared to be a solid contender, fuel-efficient, sleek, and beginner-friendly. However, in real-world performance, the GSX250R simply failed to deliver. It is considerably heavier than its direct rivals, which hampers acceleration and overall agility. The engine, a parallel twin 248cc, is tuned more for economy than excitement, producing modest power that feels sluggish, especially in a class where zip and energy are expected. The styling also feels a generation behind, borrowing too much from past Suzuki design language without adding fresh appeal. Its ergonomics are comfortable, but the riding experience lacks the thrill many new riders seek. As a result, the GSX250R became an underwhelming option in a segment filled with better-performing, more modern machines. Dealers are now clearing these out with steep discounts, offering what might seem like a bargain, but only for those who value reliability over excitement. In a class where excitement sells, the GSX250R missed the mark, becoming an example of how good intentions don't always translate into market success. Number 13. Yamaha Bolt X950. The Yamaha Bolt X950 entered the cruiser scene with promise, compact, affordable, and blessed with a torquey 942cc V-twin engine. Positioned as a middleweight alternative to Harley-Davidson's Iron 883, the Bolt initially drew attention for its stripped-down bobber styling and approachable price point. However, that early interest didn't last long. The cruiser market has always been dominated by brand loyalty and style, and Yamaha found itself in a tricky spot. While mechanically sound, the Bolt lacked the raw brand allure of Harley and the customization support that attracts cruiser enthusiasts. To make matters worse, Honda's Rebel 500 began outselling the Bolt thanks to its lower weight, modern tech, and fresher styling. The Bolt's performance was decent, but its heavier weight and less refined suspension setup made it feel dated. Over the past few years, sales have slowed dramatically. Now you'll find the Bolt collecting dust in showrooms, often marked down by thousands just to get them moving. It's a solid machine that got lost in the shuffle. Good, but not great. And that wasn't enough in a market that demands a strong identity and a clear rider connection. Number 12. Honda CTX-700. Honda's CTX-700 was a bold experiment, a bike designed to merge cruiser comfort with the riding dynamics of a sport touring motorcycle. Powered by a 670cc parallel twin engine and available with Honda's unique DCT, dual-clutch transmission, the CTX-700 was marketed as a future-forward commuter with comfort and ease of use as its hallmarks. Unfortunately, it never found a solid audience. Cruiser fans found its design uninspiring and lacking the traditional V-twin rumble or classic aesthetics. Sport bike and touring riders, on the other hand, were turned off by its laid-back ergonomics and muted engine performance. This left the CTX-700 in an awkward no-man's land, trying to please everyone and instead appealing to very few. It does have a loyal niche following among commuting riders who appreciate its low seat height, fuel efficiency, and relaxed ride. But those fans weren't enough to sustain demand. In dealer showrooms, the CTX-700 became a tough sell. It didn't help that the styling came across as too conservative or even bland, and the price tag didn't offer enough bang for the buck. Today, it's often available at heavy discounts, a reminder that even Honda can misfire when trying to create a new category in motorcycling. Number 11. Kawasaki Vulcan S. Base Trim. The Kawasaki Vulcan S is a strong bike. Versatile, smooth, and powered by the proven 649cc parallel twin engine also found in the Ninja 650. But the base trim version? That's a different story. While the performance is identical across trims, the styling and appeal of the Vulcan S base trim fall flat for today's style-conscious rider. With the custom and cafe versions offering upgraded finishes, more aggressive looks, and subtle design touches, the plain base trim ends up feeling generic and uninspired. Riders want a cruiser that stands out, not one that looks like it's still waiting for accessories. As a result, the base trim versions are piling up at dealerships, even though the platform itself is widely respected. It's a classic example of how presentation matters just as much as performance in the cruiser world. Dealers are now stuck with overstocked inventory and are offering steep markdowns to clear the base trims. If you're willing to live with the plain Jane styling, you're getting the same great engine and ride quality. But for most riders, the lack of visual personality makes the base Vulcan S an easy pass in favor of more eye-catching alternatives. Number 10. Suzuki SV650X. The Suzuki SV650X is, at its core, a fantastic motorcycle. Lightweight, nimble, and built around one of the most beloved V-twin engines in the middleweight segment. The standard SV650 continues to earn praise for its balance of performance and everyday usability. However, the SV650X, Suzuki's cafe racer-inspired variant, hasn't fared as well. With clip-on handlebars, a retro-themed headlight fairing, and styling cues intended to evoke classic racer aesthetics, it aimed to appeal to the growing neo-retro crowd. Unfortunately, the execution didn't quite click. For some riders, the sportier ergonomics don't match the otherwise mild-mannered character of the SV650 platform. Others found the styling forced, neither authentic enough for purists nor comfortable enough for daily riders. This identity crisis left it in a limbo, too niche for mass appeal, not radical enough to build a cult following. As a result, SV650X models began languishing in showrooms, with dealers offering discounts to move inventory. It's a bike that makes sense on paper and offers a great riding experience, but its in-between nature failed to create strong emotional pull. In a market where identity and excitement drive sales, the SV650X became an unfortunate afterthought. Number 9. Yamaha SCR950. The Yamaha SCR950 was Yamaha's attempt at capitalizing on the growing scrambler trend. It combined the proven 942cc air-cooled V-twin from the Bolt with retro styling and high-mounted elements meant to evoke a rugged, off-road-ready vibe. Unfortunately, it didn't deliver where it mattered. At nearly 550 pounds, the SCR950 was far too heavy and under-suspended for any serious off-road riding. Even as a street bike, it lacked the nimbleness and practicality of true urban scramblers, like Ducati's Scrambler series or even Triumph's Street Scrambler. Its tall seat height, awkward foot peg position, and limited suspension travel made it uncomfortable for daily use. Critics were quick to point out that Yamaha had basically taken a cruiser, added some high bars and a bench seat, and tried to pass it off as something it wasn't. Buyers saw through it. The styling wasn't enough to overcome the fundamental mismatch of form and function. The result? Slow sales, little aftermarket support, and a model that's now being cleared out with aggressive discounts. You'll find them in dealerships marked down by thousands. While it might appeal to a very specific aesthetic taste, the SCR950 ultimately missed its mark as a true scrambler alternative. Number 8. Honda NM4 Vultus. The Honda NM4 Vultus might be one of the most polarizing motorcycles ever made. Inspired by anime and futuristic concepts, it looked like something Batman would ride in a dystopian Tokyo. With its massive front fairing, integrated saddlebags, low-slung seat, and feet-forward riding position, the NM4 wasn't just a bike. It was a rolling piece of sci-fi. But while it turned heads, it didn't turn many into buyers. The design was simply too radical for the mainstream motorcyclist. Powered by the same 670cc parallel twin found in the CTX-700, and paired with Honda's dual-clutch transmission, DCT, the NM4 was competent mechanically, but its form severely limited its function. Storage was minimal despite the bulky look. The riding position felt odd to many, and the high price tag made it a tough sell. Enthusiasts didn't take it seriously, and casual riders were turned off by its eccentric styling. In the end, the Vultus became more of a conversation piece than a motorcycle people actually wanted to ride. Dealers now struggle to move these leftover models, often offering bonus incentives, financing deals, and deep discounts. The NM4 stands as a bold experiment, one that never found its audience. Number 7. Suzuki GSX-S1000F pre-2022 models. The Suzuki GSX-S1000F was introduced as a sport touring machine, combining the heart of a superbike with upright ergonomics and long-distance capabilities. At launch, it offered solid value: a detuned version of the GSX R1000 engine, basic but functional electronics, and a comfortable riding position. But as technology evolved, the GSX-S1000F didn't. By 2021, its dated electronics package, bulky fairings, and lack of rider aids beyond basic traction control made it feel behind the curve. Competing models like the Yamaha Tracer 9GT and Kawasaki Ninja 1000SX came packed with ride modes, TFT displays, cornering ABS, and more refined designs. Meanwhile, the Suzuki looked and felt older than it was. This stagnation hurt its appeal significantly, especially as buyers in this segment often prioritize tech and versatility. The 2022 redesign helped reinvigorate the GSX-S line, but older units continue to linger in dealerships, often marked down to move stock. While the pre-2022 GSX-S1000F is still a fast, fun ride, it's a hard sell when newer, more advanced options exist for not much more money. As a result, these models are quietly being cleared out. Great for bargain hunters, less so for Suzuki's showroom prestige. Number 6. Yamaha V-Max. The Yamaha V-Max was a legend, an icon of raw muscle and outrageous acceleration. Originally introduced in the 1980s and revamped in 2009 with a monstrous 1,079cc V4 engine, it remained a symbol of brute power. But as the motorcycle world shifted toward lighter, more refined machines, the V-Max became a relic of a bygone era. Weighing over 680 pounds wet and saddled with dated styling, the V-Max struggled to resonate with a new generation of riders who valued modern tech, agility, and sleek design. Its eye-watering price tag didn't help either, especially as competitors offered high-performance alternatives with better handling and electronics for less. Yamaha eventually discontinued the model, but a number of new, unsold units still sit in dealer inventories. These are often offered at heavy discounts, a tempting deal for those wanting a piece of motorcycling history, but one that few modern riders seriously consider. It's a classic case of a bike that was once ahead of its time, only to fall behind in the fast-moving world of performance motorcycles. Today, the V-Max stands as a collector's item for fans of excess, but it no longer fits the mold of what most riders want. Number 5. Kawasaki Ninja 400, non-ABS. The Kawasaki Ninja 400 is one of the best beginner sport bikes ever made. Lightweight, fast enough for fun, and extremely user-friendly. But the non-ABS version, it's not exactly flying off showroom floors. In a world where safety features are becoming the norm, even mandated in some regions, many buyers are specifically looking for ABS-equipped models. The performance difference between ABS and non-ABS versions is negligible, but the peace of mind that comes with anti-lock braking, especially for new riders, is significant. That makes the non-ABS variant a harder sell, particularly in North America and Europe, where rider education programs strongly emphasize the importance of ABS. While it's a little cheaper than its ABS sibling, the price difference often isn't enough to justify skipping such a crucial safety feature. As a result, dealerships are now sitting on inventories of non-ABS Ninja 400s, offering discounts or incentives just to get them moving. For bargain hunters, it's an opportunity. But for most new riders, the lack of ABS is a deal-breaker. It's a curious case where a great bike in the wrong configuration becomes a slow mover, despite being one of the most respected names in its class. Number 4. Honda CB500X, early models. The Honda CB500X is now a well-regarded entry-level adventure bike, but its early versions were far from ideal. When it first launched, the CB500X promised adventure styling and versatility, but its performance didn't quite match the rugged image. With limited suspension travel, street-biased tires, and basic components, the bike struggled off-road and offered only moderate touring comfort. Riders expecting adventure bike capability were left disappointed. While the engine, a 471cc parallel twin, was reliable and efficient, it lacked the low-end torque typically preferred for trail work. Competitors, like the Versys X300 and later the KTM 390 Adventure, offered more excitement or off-road credibility in similar packages. Honda did eventually improve the CB500X with better suspension, increased ground clearance, and spoked wheels, but those changes didn't help the early models still sitting in dealer inventory or warehouses. These older units, once promising, are now slow movers, overshadowed by their own successors. As newer, better-equipped bikes hit showrooms, early CB500X models are being offloaded at steep discounts. For budget-minded commuters or light tourers, they're a solid buy. But for riders seeking true adventure capabilities, the early CB500X is a compromise, an example of good intent that didn't fully deliver until later revisions. Number 3. Suzuki Boulevard M90. The Suzuki Boulevard M90 was designed to slot between the entry-level S40 and the powerful M109R, aiming to offer a balance of cruiser size, power, and price. Unfortunately, it ended up caught in the middle, both literally and figuratively. With a 1,662cc V-twin engine, the M90 had decent torque, but its performance didn't stand out in a segment packed with more refined, better-handling cruisers. At the same time, it was too bulky and heavy for newer riders or those looking for their first large displacement bike. Worse yet, it lacked the styling flair or customization potential of rivals from Harley-Davidson or even Honda's Shadow or Rebel lines. The M90 never truly developed an identity of its own. As a result, it's become a forgotten middle child in Suzuki's cruiser lineup, neither the brute powerhouse of the 129R nor the lightweight, approachable entry model that beginners want. Its minimal updates over the years didn't help maintain interest. Today, the Boulevard M90 is often found in dealerships collecting dust, offered at deep discounts just to make room. For some riders, it might offer big bike value at a bargain price, but for most, it's simply too forgettable to make the cut. Number 2. Yamaha R3 pre-2020 models. Before Yamaha redesigned the R3 in 2020, the earlier models, while competent, were simply too tame to stand out. The pre-2020 R3 featured a 321cc parallel twin engine that delivered smooth but uninspired power. Its upright ergonomics, soft suspension, and conservative styling made it great for beginners, but lacked the visual or dynamic punch that many riders look for in a sport bike. Meanwhile, competitors like the Kawasaki Ninja 300 and KTM RC390 offered more excitement, sharper looks, or more aggressive performance. Yamaha listened to the criticism and revamped the R3 in 2020, adding upside-down forks, more aggressive styling, and revised ergonomics that finally gave it a true sport bike feel. But those changes left the older models looking even more dated by comparison. Dealerships in some regions are still sitting on new old stock units from pre-2020, and many are marked down heavily. While these earlier R3s are still reliable, fuel-efficient, and beginner-friendly, the newer models offer so much more for only a slight increase in price. As a result, buyers skip over the older units, making them linger longer than expected. If you just need basic transportation on two wheels, it's a steal, but excitement seekers should look elsewhere. Number 1. Honda CB1100. The Honda CB1100 was designed as a modern classic, a tribute to the air-cooled inline-fours of the 1970s, but with 21st-century refinement. With its smooth 1040cc engine, relaxed ergonomics, and understated retro styling, it appealed to nostalgic riders and those who appreciated mechanical simplicity. Unfortunately, that audience was small. Younger riders, the primary growth demographic in motorcycling, saw the CB1100 as too conservative, lacking the aggressive styling, advanced electronics, or edgy personality that defines modern bikes. The CB1100 was smooth and reliable, but also heavy and expensive for what it offered. It wasn't sporty enough to rival performance bikes, nor was it flashy enough to compete in the neo-retro segment dominated by bikes like the Triumph Bonneville series or Yamaha XSR models. While it did find fans among older riders and collectors, its broad appeal never materialized. Honda discontinued the model in many markets, and remaining units are now often sold as discounted collector's editions. It's a great machine for those who value craftsmanship and timeless aesthetics. But in a fast-moving, tech-driven market, the CB1100's charm just wasn't enough. It's now a quiet end note in Honda's lineup, appreciated more in hindsight than it ever was on showroom floors. There you have it, 14 Japanese motorcycles that just aren't selling, and why some dealerships are practically giving them away. If you're in the market, this could be your golden opportunity to scoop up a brand new machine for a fraction of the cost. Which one surprised you the most? Have you seen any of these in local dealerships with deep discounts? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one. And hey, if you got value from this video, do us a favor. Hit that like button to show some love. Drop a comment to keep the discussion going. Subscribe for more deep dive motorcycle content every week. Until next time, ride safe, keep the rubber side down, and maybe go snag a deal before someone else does.